Today we're going to be talking about the white-tailed black cockatoo, aka the Carnaby cockatoo. The Carnaby cockatoo only lives in Western Australia and it is extremely endangered.
Okay, so the Carnaby, the white-tailed black cockatoo, which we get on our property here, just north of Perth. There is two varieties. This is the short-billed white-tailed black cockatoo. There is also the other species, which is down on the southern tip of Western Australia, and they're the Bordens, which have the long bill. But anyway, yep, so the short-billed white-tailed black cockatoos, or Carnabys, a lot of them around Perth itself, but over the years, because of a lot of development and clearing and things like that, they have started to venture more north of Perth. We're lucky enough to have them, like I say, on our block. We've seen them on our block mainly eat the Mari nuts. So they, at the certain times of the year, they absolutely destroy them. I have also been told that they'll eat small grubs and things like that. Okay, so here's one of the trees that we get a lot of them in. The old dead tree looking tree it is. But they get up there and pick the bark off. Pick it all off, get the little bugs, either maybe some white ants in there, but they chew the bark, come in here every afternoon doing that. A lot of the trees down on the horizon, they've breed through there freely. So we've got the gum trees, obviously they nest in hollows. Sometimes I go high up to 5-6 metres up in the air, depending on what trees are suitable for them. Definitely a problem through here.
Okay, now the white-tailed cockatoos breed in and around white gums. As we have white gums on our property, are they breeding here?
Yes, so we've also had them breed on the property. All white-tailed black cockatoos will lay 2 eggs. Basically, 9 times out of 10 the 2 eggs will hatch, but they'll only feed the first one. And I think that is because of the fact that they are so dependent of their parents for a good 12 months after hatching, and leave the nest, that they won't feed the second baby, which is sad, but that usually dies in the nest itself. So yeah.
Is it true that we have had some pairs breeding on our property longer than I have been alive?
Yeah, that's right. Definitely. So we've lived on this property for close to 21 years now, I think. And from the moment we bought the property, and then obviously moved down from the Wheatbelt area and set up, built our house and everything here, we've had white-tailed black cockatoos breeding. There's only ever been a couple of nest sites on our property, but they've always had to compete with the galahs and the corellas, which is really sad come breeding season. But normally the white-tailed black cockatoo does seem to win out, and they do retain their nest site. But yeah, we've definitely had them for at least 20 years that I know of, because obviously that's how long we've been here. And yes, they have been breeding. So yeah.
There was a bit of a tragedy in August, wasn't there?
Yeah, there was. It was really sad, because we've had a sort of leading up to August last year, so 2020. We got some really strong winds. We do get winds here from time to time, but these were really exceptionally strong. And the limb of one of the breeding trees, or basically the only breeding tree that we knew of, blew off. So it was definitely a bit of a tragedy, because obviously over the 20 odd years that we've been here, pairs have been coming back every year to breed, and I've witnessed a pair of birds breeding. They would fledge and another pair would go in, and we've had birds use 2 pairs use the same hollow log in one season, and come January, February in the hot months, birds were still in the nest. So yes, it was damaged. The limb did blow clean off the tree.
So, as this breeding tree was basically ruined, what did you do to fix it?
Oh, okay. So what we thought we would try and do was obviously the limb was gone, so we decided that we might try and ring around or put some posts on Facebook just to see if there was any way we could get the tree repaired. And when I mean repaired, I don't mean the limb can go back up on there, but I thought of actually where the bit had been snapped off, if we could have got up. It was quite high. It was probably about 8, 9, 12 metres off the ground. But to see if we could actually dig the hollow out more so the birds could keep using it. But unfortunately, that didn't work out. So, like I say, we did put some posts on Facebook because we had heard there'd been some funding for the Carnaby nest sites and repairs. So we went along those lines. Unfortunately, there was no funding for the couple pairs that we knew that were nesting on our block and around. So what we thought we'd do is we'd start asking some questions, which took a lot of ringing around, but in the end we did find there was some light at the end of the tunnel through BirdLife WA. There was some funding made available for what they call the cockatoos, and installed by Dean from Carnaby Crusaders. Were about 1,200, 1.2 metres in length. I think from memory around 300 to 400 millimetres round. They had a false bottom put on them, obviously, and they were like an insulated tube, but they were an insulated tube so that the birds wouldn't get too hot, or the eggs, if these birds were to even use the tubes.
Wow! So once the tubes were in the trees, how long did it take before any of the birds were interested in them?
Right, okay, so obviously Dean turned up, walked around our property and looked for a nice location where these tubes could be installed. Now, because of that, the black cockies are more keen on the white gums. We have got a few large white gums on the property, but the biggest issue with it was the foliage over the top. So what he had to look for was one where he could install them on the high enough off the ground, but there was a lot of foliage over the top of the tree that would shade the tubes in these hot summer months, leading up to the hot summer months.
Wow. So, do the Carnabys breed in the tubes?
Okay, so what happened was obviously these tubes got installed. I must admit, I really didn't hold a lot of faith in it, but within 3 days, there was a pair already looking in the first tube, to my amazement. I reckon within about the 4th day, the hen was actually entering the tube and going up and down. The tubes have got like a piece of white gum that hangs inside, so the birds can crawl up and down quite easily. That's probably about 70 millimetres round, and they were entering it. And then the second tube, after a lot of fighting, because other birds decided they would turn up now that these nest sites were available, about 4 weeks later, another pair had taken over the second tube. So, there you go. Yep, so in they went and started breeding, much to our amazement. So as time went on, obviously, the birds were coming and going, the males, which indicated that the females obviously were down and had laid eggs in these tubes. We actually had a visit, BirdLife WA coming out with a camera on a big pole. They were actually able to look inside the 2 tubes and actually see what was going on, which was unbelievable because there was 2 young white-tailed black cockatoos, probably about possibly a month difference in age, which probably would be right because the first tube they seemed to accept straight away, or there was no squabbling. It was only when the second one the other pairs turned up, so there was a little bit of squabbling. So yeah, so we got some beautiful pictures of the young in the log, and eventually, I reckon around 3 months, 2 weeks, the first one actually left the first tube, and the second one we believe must be very close because we've had some real shocking hot weather leading up to Christmas and over Christmas. So we think he's either gone or he could be very close to leaving. But what you'll probably hear in the background is one of the young or the fledgling wanting to be fed. They squawk heaps and heaps until mum or dad decides to feed them, give them a drink or whatever. Which on our block we've got like a bird bath, like a fairly big concrete bird bath, and we've had that up there for, like I say, close to 20 years as well. And all year long, more so in the breeding season, the whitetails come down and drink, and sometimes I've been lucky enough on real hot days to be able to fan them with some water. I've had up to 8 or 9 on the bird bath with their wings out, enjoying a nice bath. So mum and dad introduced the young ones to where they can get a drink, which is only really about 30-40 metres, maybe a bit more, to where the tree or the tube with where the tube is situated. So yeah, so the obviously the noise, like I say, you can hear is the young ones squawking.